Salt these well. Try to go right along the spine.
It's about to be on, baby. It's about to be on.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Movie Jawns. Yes, we are so glad that you're here with us back at this reaction Jawn. But this is going to be my no moldy bread reaction thoughts to Fantastic Four First Steps. Right? I have a really short out of the theater video that I put together. And it was just, just my really quick thoughts. Nothing really of a deep dive, nothing really of a, just what I thought overall as an overarching. It's about maybe a minute, 2 minutes or something like that. If you guys want to see it, comment down below, I'll post it. I was like, maybe I'll just do the deep dive. Well, not so much. This is not going to be so much of a deep dive. This is just going to be just my bullet points and what I thought from the film. All right. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into this. My thoughts of Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four was directed, initially it was helmed by Jon Watts, who is responsible for the Spider-Man franchise. And then after, I would believe, in some of the trades, they'll say certain things like, creative differences, scheduling, whatever the case is. He was probably, in knee deep with a film or knee deep with something, on his plate that he was doing. I mean, I don't know how you would pass up for Fantastic Four, but he's already did three, the Spider-Man films. So, so moving over to from Jon Watts was TV director Matt Shakman, who has been responsible for the WANDAVISION series that's on Disney Plus with Marvel Television. And I don't know if everybody was, kind of on shaky ground because it's Matt Shakman, but the guy, gotta give credit where the credit is due, because this dude actually did something that was pretty darn interesting. And I don't want to use puns in saying fantastic, but I got it. Hey, it was a wow moment. The writing. Let me tell you, when I was sitting there, so I'm in the theater and I'm like, I'm praying. I'm like, please be a good movie. Please be a good movie. Have good story arc. Give me the story. That's all I've been asking for Marvel, is just give me the story. I think that's all we've been asking for, is just give us the story. And while I'm watching it, through the first half, second half, it was a lot of the family element. It was a lot of them bringing them together. It's a lot of, the Fantastic Four has been fantasticking for years now. So no backstory, thankfully, in these iterations. And it kind of mirrors very much like how the Superman film was. There was no backstory. You don't need it. We don't need backstories no more. We all get it. We get the freaking concept. We get it. So I was like, just give me the story and tell me what, where are we at? Different universe, different feel, retro futurism. It was very much police cars were flying. It's like, why are other vehicles on the ground and there's certain other vehicles that are flying through the air. At least there were certain scenes where it hinted that there were flying machines. I'm quite sure it can't be just, the Fantastic Four retro, their retro vehicle just going and flying off throughout throughout New York. So yeah, it was, I gotta say, the writing was, in terms of the story element, it's the story arcs for the beats. They introduce us to characters right off the bat. It's like, boom, right in your face. And I was amazed by the camaraderie of these characters. I think Kevin said to Matt, listen, man, this is, lean in close here. Come here. Don't mess up on this. of anything, don't mess up on my prized possession. Beautifully camaraderie of characters that were just culminating together. Pedro Pascual, my man's in them. I was a little shaky. I was like, Pedro, you know, I was shaky on, will these characters fit together in these, you know, in these positions of these characters? And I got to tell you, I was extremely impressed by how they all blended, how they all fed off one another. Reed was Reed, you know, classic Reed. Ben was amazing. Ben looked, I will get to Ben on my standouts. The Invisible Woman, Johnny, everybody was just, it was a really good culmination of the characterization, how they brought them all together. I was also in my seat, you know, like, all right, this is happening. What y'all gonna do now? What y'all gonna do? What plan do you have for this universal threat? You know, what are you gonna do? And as I'm sitting there, like, I hope it better be a good idea. It better be a good idea. Boom, good idea. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's a pretty good idea. It was like good idea after good idea after good idea after good story point, good idea. So I was pretty shocked with the writing in terms of, you know, this particular story element. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm a fan of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. I know. Tim's story, like it or love it, his iteration of his first 1 and 2, I actually enjoyed Rise of the Silver Surfer. I mean, it was my favorite out of all of the iterations that have been released and showcased. Rise of the Silver Surfer was my favorite. This right here, it's right up there. It's like boom. It's like 1 and 2. It's like there's no peaking one over the other. I would just say in terms of like what the aesthetics look like, First Steps has a little bit more of an edge because you feel Marvel in the writing. The performance, like I said, I was very well. It wasn't. If you're looking for Godfather, it's not that, but it's within the typical scope of the performances of these Marvel characters. I got to say, my standout of all the performances was Ben. The way he looks and the way they captured Ben in his moments and looking at Sue and looking at Reed. These were moments that were captured, and I think that they did more of they did a mixture of CGI and practical for his suit and for the VFX aspect of it. So you could see a little bit of the nuance of the suit, of his bulkiness, and the CG element that kind of plays into it. All performances was actually quite well done. My overall stellar standout would have to be Galactus. I gotta say, man, I actually was terrified because this is our first actual live look at the man himself, at the character himself. I was a little nervous. I was like, will this be pulled off in the way that I'm hoping that Galactus will be pulled off? And I'm referencing comics, I'm referencing, other iterations. Then Rise of the Silver Surfer, we saw just a silhouette of the shape of Galactus. Who's to say that couldn't, it might not have been the same one? It's MCU, so it's different now, of course, but maybe a different universe or alternate universe. Who knows? Marvel. But I was particularly really just like, oh, please make Galactus really good. Make Galactus something as of a threat as he is, as he should be, as a cosmic universal threat. And to not make him a watered down WWE jobber type of character where he's just, whatever. It was just, he was menacing. His performance, the performance that was done for Galactus was just menacing, from the voice. And he already, the actor that plays him he already has a very gravitas voice. So, you know, but he's his portrayal, his look, his feel, his presence, his you know, everything about Galactus was like, that's what I expect from Galactus. I was fearful on how he was going to be. Like, is he the planet size? Is he like can he grab the earth like an orange? You know, and it was quite well of a story on how he devours planets. Being that he has a contraption machine that destroys the earth and then grinds it up like a juicer and then feeds it to him, so that he's finally satiated with his hunger. So the performance of that was just, I gotta say, if anything, the look and the feel of Galactus, my goodness, man, it was. Every time I'm in the theater, I'm sitting there like, wow, that's crazy. Whoa, that's amazing. And I was like skeptical of him walking on the earth, like walking in the city, you know, destroying buildings like he's, you know, an oversized, triple-sized King Kong. I was kind of nervous about that, but overall I was like, it's not that bad. I'll take it, because I know he's more cosmic, you know. So how do you take a character that's cosmic and get him into a place where he's in the same, you know, fighting level as the Fantastic Four? And it was pretty, you know, it still was, it worked for me. I was kind of shocked, you know. So you got to be careful sometimes with these TV trailers and TV ads that they give, because there was a lot of stuff that was cut out from the TV ads. Like, there was certain shots, and I think they probably did that deliberately, kind of like how they did it with Avengers Endgame. Like, they were all running, you know, in Wakanda, and then there was like certain characters that were there cut out, moved around. Nothing like how it was when you actually saw the film. This was the same thing. There was scenes where there were the dinner scene, like in the trailer, they were all dressed in black suits. Gone, not even there. The presence of John Malkovich. Where's Johnny M's? Gone, cut out at the last minute. I think there was a screen testing, and then they said, you know, either he was irrelevant, you know, not needed or whatever. Gone. So I was like looking for certain scenes to tie in from the trailer. We gotta be mindful. You know, anytime that we see a trailer, there's a good chance, a good percentage that half of that stuff is in the trailer. It's not gonna be in the film. So yeah, anyway. So what were my standouts? Matt Chapman's attention to detail in every single part of this movie was outstanding. There were hints of, again, I don't want to spoil it, no moldy bread. There was a scene where you can see the creators, the originators being winked at. There's a scene where they're winked. They're giving a nod of acknowledgement. And it goes by so fast, like when you see it, it's like, holy crap. But you kind of know there's a wink to the origin of this universe, for this particular universe. And if you, I think when it gets out to the release, when it gets to digital, if you slow it down, you'll actually be able to see, like, you know, the inside of the room. But it was quite an interesting nod to, it was a good nod to that. I enjoyed that. I was like, oh. You know, the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. Yeah, that one. So that was a nice touch. His retro futurism details to the buildings, to the aesthetics, to the clothing design, to the feel. It looked very retro until you get to him seeing Galactus. Then it becomes Marvel. Then it's like, oh, okay, and this reminds me of the Marvel that I know and love. So yeah, I was like, all right, so tell me that you're Fantastic Four without telling me that you're Fantastic Four. You know how they did that? Branding everywhere, logos, buttons, cartoons, commercials, everything. From what you can see, you know, I get it that there have been Fantastic Fouring forever, you know, for I think 3 to 4 or 5 years. I think they kind of make the mantra of 4, keeping in theme with the movie, that anywhere that you saw was branding of Fantastic Four here, Fantastic Four there. It was like, okay. And the color scheme, It was like, all right, yeah, I get it's Fantastic Four. Don't beat me over the head with the branding. But to say the least, it was a detail to let you know this universe, who controls the Earth, who is the protectors of Earth, is this particular version. I think it's 828. I think it's Earth 828 for this particular universe. I could be wrong. Comment down below if you think that if it's 828 or 323. You know, comment down below and tell me what you think. It was a lot of sprinkle of, because it was directed by Matt Shakman, who did WandaVision. You can see the elements of that retro aspect of it because it was done very well in WandaVision. So it kind of bled over very well. And I think what he took from WandaVision, he just pumped that bad boy with just nothing but, you know, over the top, you know, protein pills, and just gave us an explosion of color, explosion of retro, an explosion of this particular Earth. So yeah, let us, you know, if you think that this is Earth 828 or something else, or 878 or no, something, you know, the Reed Richards from Multiverse of Madness, I think that was 878 or yeah, I think that was 878 or 838. One of those, it was one of those. So it's not the same one, but I think it's 868 for this particular Earth. But this one was, you know, this particular presence of them was like, yeah, we're retroed out, and we're feeling every aspect of it, even from, you know, from the way that people talk, you know, the way that people are, the crowd scene, some of the extras that was there was like, these were not elements of normal 1960s, 1970s New York. This was like a really blended universe where you can see all sorts of walk of life of folks, this really like being together the way that it should be. And I think the utopia of this world was like, this is what we envision on how it should be. Yeah, and because of these characters, they were like ripped right from the comics, particularly Ben Grimm's look, aesthetic, feel, the particular type of texture of rocks, how they had to be very meticulous on what texture of rocks that they would be studying to try to give him the perfect look. Like, it was right from the comics. Even from when he was walking around in his Ben Grimm, you know, disguise, you know, I'm in the streets, I'm walking around in the streets, from his brim hat and oversized trench coat. You know, that was a really beautiful touch, because they proportioned him perfectly as it was from the comics, like dead straight on from the comics. So I think, to me, because I was more particularly drawn to Ben's look and feel, it made it really gave me the, like, this is the universe that I want to be in and be more involved with. Reed's stretchy powers, Sue's bending with the refraction of the light of her powers. Johnny, you know, I mean, once you've seen one Human Torch, you've seen them all. You know, it's the same thing. However, I will say with Johnny's flame power, his clothing, all of his clothing, so much are all flame retardant. So they're like flame proof from his, you know, there is a scene from Rise of the Silver Surfer where Chris Evans, Fantastic Four's character, he was, you know, Reed turns and says, Johnny, and Chris Evans, Johnny goes, this is Dolce.
This is Dolce.
And then he says, oh, and he starts rumming, flame on. That to me was the scene. I was like, I'm locked in. This particular Johnny Storm, while I enjoyed the characters, like I mentioned earlier, all of his clothing are flame proof, which I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice touch. Like, anywhere that he flies to or goes, like, you know, he doesn't have to change or burn his clothes off, because that's a lot of, you know, you got to burn through some clothes, literally burning through some cash to get new clothing. But it was a very finite, and if you overlooked it, you're like, you know, so that's a really good touch that I thought that was really idealistically, that their clothing, their uniforms, their look and aesthetic all fit within their power schemes and their concept. Franklin time, baby. Franklin time. They gave us Franklin right from the rip, from the beginning. And if you know Franklin Richards, you know that this guy is a cosmic level, universal, mutated, just over OP powered. I think Franklin Richards and the chick from that, you know, the Secret Wars, if you want to call that, that TV series, Secret Wars, whatever. I think that easy. That Skrull hybrid with all the powers of everybody. Easily, he can just. I pray that Franklin, when he grows up, because they're speeding his age up, I hope that he just goes whoop, and then boom, she's back to normal, back to being a regular Skrull. I hope that happens, because that needs to be cleaned up. But if you know about Franklin is that character. He is reality manipulating threat to the overall Marvel world. He's that guy. And his sister, we'll see if they bring in, his sister later on. So we'll see. But Franklin, when I saw Franklin, I was like, yeah, it's moving. It's moving pretty fast. I think I know what they're trying to do, but I reserve my ideas until I see a little bit more Marvel. I need you guys to go back and check out The Incredibles. Like, I get, as I was watching this, I was like, yeah, The Underminer. When I saw the mole, I was like, oh yeah, behold, The Underminer. Even from the visor glasses, it was like spot on. I was like, I gotta go watch The Incredibles again, because as we all know, The Incredibles is a complete rip from Fantastic Four. But I got the references, like some of the nuances from the cartoon or from the animated joint, to now seeing this. I'm like, yeah, okay. Thanks for the nod. Thanks for the head nod. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Everything from the retro futurism to the looks, to the feel, to the performances, to the writing, to the menacing of Galactus. Who I have not talked about is Shalabal, the Silver Surfer, which they really didn't call her Silver Surfer. They just called her Shalabal. I was impressed by the look of her and how her reflections. From Rise of the Silver Surfer, I think they borrowed heavily from the look of that. But it was a lot with the way she contours and moves, and everything. She is. I would not be upset if they kept her character and introduced Norrin Rad. I would not be upset if there's two surfers rolling around in the universe. I would be cool with it. Let's see what they do with it. Who knows? But I would be cool if she sticks around into the universe. And judging by the way that the film ended, which again, I'm not going to spoil everything, we don't know what's going to happen with these characters, but I'm glad that these universal threats cannot be just heavily killed. You can't heavily destroyed. You can't destroy a cosmic threat and expect the universe to be what it is. You have to keep certain characters that were universal characters, like Null. You gotta really know how to know what you're doing, because that is a superior intellect being that was forged from the nothingness. Like the Living Tribunal, or Gore the God Butcher. Like, these characters are not easily to be destroyed. Like, these are characters that you'll see in future iterations or future storylines. Like, they don't disappear. They still stick around. So I'm very glad that we don't know what happens at the end of the film when it comes to these overpowered villains. We don't know, and I'm glad that they did not just destroy them and remove them off. What happens with him, I'll let you decide and see. Did he or didn't he? We don't know. But judging by what happens at the end of it, I'm hoping that we will see more of Galactus, more of Shalabal, more of the universal threat, hopefully even making alliances with other villains, because if you got, Thanos was an anomaly that's in itself within 10 years of this film, of the Marvel films leading up to that particular threat. when you have someone like that as a universal threat, you have to have all combined forces of every single hero that you can think of to battle someone like this, just to have Tony Stark do what he did in Avengers Endgame. I still don't know who is the true big bad of this particular iteration of this phase. And it leads me to wonder, what is the direction of Marvel going as to who truly is the big bad? Is it really Doctor Doom? Is it really him? Or is there someone else in the horizon? Like, who we really should be keeping an eyeball out for? I think they're playing out the idea that Doom is the true threat. And to me, it's like, I don't know if you really want to go that route. But in essence, it's still one of those, if not Doom, if not Galactus, who's really left? Who's really, like, who do we have in the list of arsenals of villains that are out there that can be, a force to be reckoned with this particular group of heroes in the cinematic universe or the TV universe? Like, who could be this really true next threat? It can't be just Doom by himself. It can't be the Beyonder by himself. I mean, maybe he could, but I need the threat, and I think that when we as the audience start to becoming more aware as to where the stakes are becoming really high, and I think that the Russo brothers will bring in a universal threat to the forefront to let us know it's about to get real. So I'm looking forward to the true universal threat here as to who do we really need to be concerned about. What do you guys think? Jump down in the comments section below and tell me, who do you think your universal threat should be? Who, is it going to be Doom? Is it going to be, will we see, Galactus, in future iterations or in future films? Was he destroyed? Was he not destroyed? Did you see the film? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Tell us down below. I got to say, for overall, this is a thumbs up. It's an actual Movie Jawns approval. Go check it out in theaters. Go see it now. Go see it in IMAX if you can. I mean, this is what this movie was really made for. It was really made for IMAX. So go check it out if you can. And yeah, that's it. That's my really quick, dirty take about Fantastic Four First Steps. To me, it has the very same similar iteration of it being a family, good, wholesome film for the family. Very much like Superman. And I disagree with some of my other, respectfully though, disagree with my other YouTube cohorts that think that this was better than Superman. I think it's pretty much right there on par, because this is not a perfect movie by no stretch of the imagination of Marvel standards that I think would be the top tier of absolute phenomenal storytelling and superhero aspects of it. Like there's like you got your tiers, and this is not one of those top 1-2 of the entire laundry list of Marvel movies that are or TV shows that's been out there to date. It's not. It's good, but it's not. It ain't Civil War. It ain't Captain America. It ain't the Captain America Winter Soldier. It ain't Winter Soldier. It ain't Avengers Endgame, or is it Avengers Infinity War? It ain't Black Panther, the first one. It's not Iron Man. Well, I would say one would. That's kind of hard to put one in there. But anyway, it's not Winter Soldier, Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Civil War in terms of group, and Avengers Endgame in terms of group would be like the top tier stellar marquee of pinnacle great storytelling when it comes to Marvel. And it's not up there with them, but it's good. It's a watchable joint. It's better than most stuff that's been pushed out there. But it's what we need in the theaters to go watch and go see. Just like Superman. Superman is. I haven't yet put together I've watched it 3 times and I have yet to put together, I have it in my head, but it's like I'm really decompressing on how to put Superman together. Because that film, just like how Fantastic Four is, it is not a perfect movie. These 2 films are not perfect. It's perfect for what we need to go in the theaters to go watch it, and it's gonna do extremely well in the box office. But I don't particularly think that one is better than the other. I think that they're really pretty much on par with each other. They're like really neck and neck. But what, again, you comment down below and tell us what you think. All right. Again, that's my quick take, my bullet points, my non-moldy bread review of Fantastic Four, First Steps. Tell us what you guys think about the reaction. Tell us what you guys think about, you know, if you saw the film or not, and tell us what your thoughts are so we can comment and converse and have a conversation together. All right. All right. That's it. And as we always say around here, love is love. So be love. Rock steady, everybody. To the next out of the theater or next trailer reaction or commentary or try not to laugh. So till the next time, keep watching, everybody.